We are going to be looking at how to find construct chains in Psalm 1 using Accordance Bible software. And so I have my Accordance window up here, and I'm currently set to Isaiah 5:1. I can come up here to my search bar. Right now it says verses, so I can just type a book and a chapter in here. I could type in PS space 1 to get to Psalm 1. Now what I'm going to want to do for this is I'm going to need to search for both nouns and adjectives. In order to make that easier, I'm going to set a search range so that the hits that I get will only be in Psalm 1. I've showed you how to do this before, but I'm going to do it again here. So right now there's nothing having to do with range showing up underneath the search bar. So I'll come over to the very right-hand side of the search bar. Just to the right of it, I see a plus. I'm going to click the plus, and now I see this box says range. It's got some other options, but you want it to say range. And then next to it, it says all text. And actually, there's a bunch of options here. You might have yours set to something else, but the default is all text. And right now, there's a bunch of predefined ones in here. But I want to define my own range. So I'm going to come down to the very bottom where it says define range, and I'm going to click that. And then I'm going to define a range here. And so I need to click on new, and I'm going to give it a name. Now I could do it for the entire book of Psalms. I could do it for Psalms 1 and 2. I could do it for Psalms 1 through 10, whatever I want to do. In this case, I just want it to be Psalm 1. Now the name is not so important, but what I type in the definition has to be exact. So it has to be the correct spelling of the name of the book and then a chapter range. Now if I wanted to do chapters 1 to 10, maybe I could type that in and that would be okay. I just want Psalm 1. So then I come down here and I verify. That just tells me that my definition is okay, and it's okay. And then I'm going to click on update. So now I'm done with that. I can click out of this. Now when I come over here to my range where it says all text, I click on that and note that Psalm 1 appears. So now I'm going to click on Psalm 1, and now when I do a search, it's only going to find hits inside Psalm 1. And that's going to be very helpful because this is a case where when I search for nouns and adjectives, I'm going to get thousands of various hits. And so I want to limit it down so I can quickly find Psalm 1. All right, now at this point, we need to find nouns and adjectives. And the reason is that there are adjectives that act like nouns. So here's an example right here, Rishaim. Well, Rasha is an adjective. It means wicked, but it can be used like a noun to mean a wicked one, or in this case, it's a plural, wicked ones. And so I need to find both nouns and adjectives in order to find the construct chains. So a construct chain will have two or more nouns or words acting like nouns. And so I'm going to now come up to my oval in my search bar, and I'm going to change that to words. And then this is going to then change my letters over to Hebrew stuff. So I need to get rid of those. I hit delete or backspace, just get rid of that. Now I'm going to have to type a relatively complex search string in here. It's not too bad, but it has to be exact. So I want to find nouns or adjectives. And so in order to do that, I'm going to type in the string that looks like this. I'm going to come over to a Word file here and make it a little bit larger so it's easier to see. So I'm going to do left bracket, noun, right bracket, and then the word or, but I need to put that inside a less than and greater than sign. So capital OR, and then the other side of that. So less than, capital OR, greater than. And then I'm going to type in the left brace and then the word adjective. Oops, got to spell it correctly, otherwise it will complain. And then a right bracket. Now, one reason for doing this is it makes it easy, because then I can just copy and paste it. So I'll copy that, Control C, then I'll come back over to Accordance and click on the search bar here. Since I'm in Hebrew, I'll be typing on the right side, and then I'll do a paste, and then I have my search string here, adjective or noun. At this point, I can hit enter, and now I see my result is Psalm 1, and all the adjectives and nouns are highlighted. If I were to say adjective and noun, it would find verses where there were adjectives and nouns, which I guess would be all the verses as well. So maybe that's not a big deal. But technically you want adjectives or nouns. So now, what we need to do is we need to find nouns that are in the construct state. And I'm assuming that there might be some cases where there's adjectives. I think for the most part in this psalm we're going to find nouns in construct. I don't think we're going to find any adjectives in construct. They'll all be in absolute state. But remember that for a construct package, you have two elements. You have a noun in construct, if I could type, followed by a noun that is absolute, or noun in absolute, however you want to put that. And so we're going to be reading right to left, but there'll be a construct followed by an absolute. So we're looking for nouns that are in construct, and then we're looking for the noun or adjective that comes after it that's an absolute. So we start here in Psalm 1:1. We see we have a noun here, ish, and you can see the instant details down at the bottom. I have to hit shift in order to get my cursor to come down here. But I can also just click on the word and the instant details will appear after about half a second of clicking. And so now I have the noun here, ish. It's a noun, it's common, masculine, singular, absolute. So the state is absolute. So we're not worried about that because it's a standalone. It's not in a construct chain, it's just standing by itself. Now let's move over to the next noun or adjective, and we have atzat. So I'm going to get the instant details for that. Notice that it says here that it is a noun, that's common as opposed to proper, meaning it's not a name, and then feminine, singular, construct. So this is a construct, and it's a noun. So we now need to look at what comes after it. Now, if it's got a pronominal suffix, we don't have to worry about it. I'll show you an example of that in a minute. This word does not have a pronominal suffix. It's followed by this word here, which is rishaim. Now notice this is an adjective, but it's acting like a noun, and it also says here that it is absolute state. So we have a noun in construct, atzat, followed by an adjective, which is acting like a noun, and it's an absolute state. So here we have a construct chain. So let's copy this whole expression over. So Control C. I'm going to come over to my Word file again. I'll copy it in. Let's take a look at what this would look like in the absolute form. So here is the construct form, and I'm going to take off this at ending, so patach tav, and I'm going to change the first vowel here. That's going to be a long A, a comets, instead of that reduced vowel. And then it's going to have a comets hey for the ending. So atsa is the feminine singular noun, the absolute state. And when a feminine singular noun that ends with comets hey goes to the construct state, then it switches over and becomes this at ending, patach tav. That's what we're seeing here. And notice that I also have a preposition in front of it. That's an inseparable preposition. It is saying in, and then we have atzat in the construct state. So that is in, and let's just put counsel first, and then of, because that's how we do a construct, and then rishaim, wicked ones. Now there's no definite article here, so technically this is the literal translation here. In council of wicked ones, or perhaps in a council of wicked ones. But for English, we would probably stick a the in there, even though the Hebrew doesn't have it. So we would say in the council of wicked ones, or we might even say in the council of the wicked, if we consider wicked to be a class. So we might just say the wicked. But note that everything here is indefinite. So the noun in absolute form is indefinite, so the entire construct chain is indefinite. Okay, let's look for another one here. So we come to the next noun, and it is Derek. Derek, if we take a look at the instant details, it's a noun, since it's both, meaning it could be masculine or feminine. It's singular and it's construct. So now let's look and see what comes after it. Well, here we have chataim. So that's what comes after. This is an adjective, meaning sinful, but when it's used as a noun, it could mean sinful one, or in this case, it's plural, sinful ones. So let's look at the instant details. It's an adjective, masculine plural, and look, it's absolute. So we have a construct, Derek, followed by an adjective, chataim, which is absolute. So let's copy this phrase. Let's copy the whole thing. We have the whole thing. And I'll come back over to my Word file here, and I'll copy that in. So now we have a wow conjunction, and notice that it's a shurek here because it's coming before a bait. It's also coming before a word with a vocal schwa, so either way it becomes a shurek. This is the only time in the Hebrew language that you can begin a word with a vowel, and it's really just an alternate form of the consonant wow. So we have uva derek, and notice in the Masoretic text that you have an accent here that is below the line. We're used to seeing a caret sign like this above the line, but this is also an accent, just another Masoretic accent, but it tells you where the stress symbol is. So this is derek rather than derech. It's derech. And then we have over here chataim. If we write this all out in, let's just do it literally here, in way, and then since it's construct of, and then chataim is sinners. So in way of sinners, that could possibly be in a way of sinners. That's indefinite. So indefinite can either be the word without an A or with an A. And we might say in the way of sinners to make it make more sense in English. We might even say in the way of the sinful, possibly. I think in the way of sinners is fine for this one. So that's our second construct chain. Let's go back to our accordance window. Now we're looking for the next noun, which is over here. It's moshav. So let's check that one out. It is a noun, masculine, singular, construct. So now I'm looking to see if there's anything after it. There's no pronominal suffix. So I go to the next word, and it's leitzim. So I check this out, and it's a noun, masculine, plural, absolute. That's what we're looking for. It's an absolute. So now we have a construct followed by an absolute. So let me grab that. So I highlight it, Control C, come over to my word, copy that in. Again, it's got the same wow conjunction and the same preposition. It makes sense that we have the same preposition because in Psalm 1 we're talking about a person who does not walk in the counsel of wicked ones or stand in the way of sinful ones or sit in the seat of scornful ones. Okay, so now in this last one, I guess I just gave that away, but we have moshav, which is seat or dwelling place, and then we have leitzim, which is scoffer, or in this case, scoffers, because it's plural. So this would be, oh, actually, I think up here, I didn't put the wow in, and in the way of sinners. I want to translate the entire phrase here. So, and this one is, and in the seat, actually no, and in a seat of scoffers. But for English, we probably would change that to the, just to make it make more sense for us. So, and in a seat of scoffers. All of these construct chains are indefinite. So, all the nouns, Rishaim, Chataim, and Leitzim, they're all indefinite. They do not have definite articles. So technically all these construct chains are indefinite, even though, for instance, in the first one, we might translate this as the wicked, even though we could just say wicked ones, meaning indefinite. The way of sinners, indefinite. The seat of scoffers, indefinite. So those are all of the construct chains in Psalm 1:1. Now let's move down to Psalm 1:2. I want to show you a couple of examples here. So we have the first noun here. This is Torah. I'll do my instant details, and it's a noun. It's feminine, singular, construct. Notice that the dictionary form here is Torah. Again, it's got that comet's hay at the end, but the form here is construct, so it's ending with the patak tav, so it's Torat rather than Torah. And actually, that's a good indicator. When you see a noun that looks familiar and it has that at ending, then you know that it's in construct. The next word that comes after it is the word for the Lord. So it's the YHWH. The Hebrews would pronounce that Adonai. They would not say the divine name. And so let me grab this whole thing here. Oh, I'm sorry, notice that it's a proper noun. It's not going to tell you whether it's absolute or not, but a proper noun will always be absolute. So that's something that you just need to know, that a proper noun will always be absolute. Okay, so let's grab this phrase and we'll analyze it. So Control C, we'll come over to our Word file. and I'm going to paste it. There we go. So I have B'Torat Adonai. And again, we have the Resh has a Patach, and then we end it with a Tau. That's our construct form of the noun Torah. So if I were to write this out in its absolute form, it would have a Kametz He, like that. So this is the absolute form for Torah, which is law or instruction. But in the construct, it is Torat. This little symbol here, which I can get rid of, but if I put it back, that's just an accent. It's not a vowel, it's just an accent. So coming back down here, we have the bait again, the preposition in. Now, notice that we have, I'm going to say in, and then I'm going to sort of leave this blank. I have law of, and then I have a proper name, the Lord. So it's a proper name, and that means that this whole construct chain is definite. So this is definite, because a proper name is always definite. And so this is going to be the law of the Lord. So this is a case where the construct chain, you'll never see a definite article on the construct. The definiteness of the chain comes from the noun that's absolute. In this case, it's a proper noun, so it is by definition definite. And so this would be in the law of the Lord. Okay, come back over to Psalm 1, verse 2. Our next word here is cheftzo. Cheftzo. Now notice that it is, the instant details, it is a noun. It says construct, but notice it's got a pronominal suffix on the end of it. So let me grab this. We'll analyze it real quickly. You're not going to need to worry about these, but I'm just going to do it so we can analyze it. Notice there's a pronominal suffix on the end of this. We need to note real quickly, however, that a word with a pronominal suffix can end a construct chain. So cheftzo is his delight. Let me add a simple word here. I'll just add davar, but it's going to be dever in construct. So it's going to look like that in construct. So this is our word davar, but in construct, because the accent shifts over here, this becomes propretonic, and so it reduces, and then this vowel becomes a short vowel rather than a long vowel because it's no longer accented. So some changes take place. This is why vocabulary is important, because notice that the vowels change, but the word remains the same. So here I have word and then his delight. Note that a pronominal suffix makes this definite. So the entire construct chain is definite. This becomes the word of his delight. So this is an example where you could end a construct chain with a word with a pronominal suffix. We don't have any of those in Psalm 1, so we don't need to worry about them. So in Psalm 1, we're not going to see any words at the end of a construct chain that also have a pronominal suffix. We come back over here, we see that here's cheftzo, and it comes after a construct chain. So our construct chain was here, which is the law of the Lord. This comes after it, and so it's technically standalone. It's not really a part of anything coming before it. So that tells us that this is not part of a construct chain. But theoretically, we do have to check and see whether it's at the end of a construct chain. Now I'm telling you up front that in Psalm 1, you will not see any words with pronominal suffixes that are at the end of construct chains. So don't worry about them. So come back over, and then the final word in this verse, either adjective or noun, is laila, which is a noun. But notice when I do the instant details, it tells me that it's absolute. And we would expect that because it's standing by itself. It's a standalone noun, kind of like ish over here. It's standing by itself, and when a noun's by itself, it's going to be absolute. The only time a word shows up in construct is if it's in a construct chain with another noun or another word acting like a noun, like an adjective acting like a noun. So this is standalone. We don't have to worry about it. Okay, let's do one more. So we're in verse 3 here. Here's our word eights. It's a word for tree. The instant details tell me that it is absolute, but it's standing by itself, so we don't need to worry about it. It cannot be in construct because there's nothing before it to be in construct with it. Let's come over here and look at palge. Now, palge is masculine plural construct. We need to look at the next word. Actually, sadly, it's way over here, but they do go together, even though it's the beginning of the next line. This is mayim, which is water. So I'll check that and notice that it says masculine plural absolute. So I do have a construct followed by an absolute. I'm going to copy the whole thing, including the preposition, just so we can get a little practice here. So Control C, come over here to my file, Control V, paste it in. So I've got my preposition al, which is a lot of things, on, upon, by, concerning, sometimes to. I think this one is maybe even at or by. Here's our noun in construct, palge. Now it is, interestingly, this is a masculine plural construct. Remember that a masculine plural construct will have a sere yod at the end of it. So the absolute form of this would look like this. So I've copied it down here, and I'll get rid of the accent for the time being. This is actually going to turn out to be, that vowel will shorten. Oops, over to Hebrew here. Okay, and then this is going to be a comets. Whoops, there we go. And this will be a hierarch yod, and it's going to end with a final main. So our absolute form of this will be polagim. Polagim. The propretonic vowel shortens. So the dictionary form of this, let me just type that out real quickly, is going to be peleg. So that's going to be a short E. It's going to have a accent, and then the second will be also a short E. So peleg. So here's the regular plural, polagim. And then note also that the second vowel changes. Sometimes happens as well. So this really shows us why we need to know vocabulary. Because the vowels have disappeared, now we have completely different vowels. And when we come to the construct, the vowels are different again. If I know the word itself, pe, lamed, gimel, it's helpful. All right, coming back up here, we have, and peleg would be a water channel, pretty much an artificial water channel, which is interesting because it shows that the streams of water are not accidental, but they're purposeful. We will be like a tree planted by irrigation channels of water rather than just any old channel of water. So the sere yod tells us that this is masculine plural construct, and then we have mayim. So with the preposition by or upon or at streams of, that's our construct, always put an of in there, and then water, by streams of water. That's how our construct chain is going to look. Notice that this is indefinite because mayim does not have a definite article. So it's a non-proper noun, it's a common noun. So this will be an indefinite construct chain. Okay, and finally back over then to Psalm 1. So we've looked at construct chains in Psalm 1, verses 1 through 3. I'll leave you to find the rest of the construct chains in Psalm 1, and you will find some more examples. So happy hunting.